Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Growth Lab. Today's class is an advanced Facebook marketing masterclass where we're going to be optimizing your data to scale your business. We're joined today by Jack and Cade from Top Growth Marketing. They'll be walking us through how to understand the importance of tracking proper data through Facebook ads so you can further help to optimize and scale your business. I think there have been some changes with that. We're excited to learn about those changes. I know nothing about them. Facebook always be changing stuff. Just some quick cleanup before I pass things over. This session will be recorded and you'll receive a follow-up email with all applicable resources around this time tomorrow. So no worries about taking too many notes. Everything will be emailed to you. There is a live poll on the right side of your screen right now. So please let us know where you'll be tuning in from or where you are tuning in from. We love to see it. All of that being said, Jack and Cade, take it away.
Well, thanks, Megan. Really appreciate it. And yeah, so we made a few slight adjustments to talk more so about the Apple iOS changes and how that's affecting brands that are using Facebook and Instagram and all the different social apps to monitor or scale their businesses. And so this session, you're going to learn a bunch about what sort of data you should be looking at, the changes that happened with the Apple update, what to expect with those changes, and then how to fix all the issues that those Apple iOS update, all of the issues that it's created. So I know there's a lot of worried brand owners and advertisers out there who don't 100% know kind of like the full impact of the Apple iOS changes, but they are seeing decreases in their ad accounts and, drops in revenue and that sort of stuff, which can be really scary. So today, we're here to sort of, talk you down off that ledge and just share all the information that we've been sharing with a bunch of our clients that we work with and a bunch of people that we communicate with in the industry as to how everybody is handling the Apple iOS changes and how they're going to be handling their digital marketing moving forward and continuing to grow using paid advertising. So I think this is one of our, I don't know, we're going to be up to like 4 or 5 sessions now. But yeah, we really love sharing all of the info about, all the things that we learn on the day-to-day, running all of our ads on Facebook, Google, all these platforms. And this was a big spanner in the works. So a little background, started ad agency, Top Growth Marketing, been running ads for 10 plus years. And we have an amazing, awesome team. And Cade's here as one of our project managers who has been leading the charge with making sure that all of our brands are compliant with the new Apple iOS updates. So he's an expert on this and he'll be in the chat. And then we also have Jen, who's also more of the creative side, but she'll be there to answer a lot of your general Shopify questions and marketing questions. So today we'll have a bunch of information for you guys, and then we'll do a big Q&A because I know there's a lot of questions that are going through people's heads with this update. And then maybe at the very end, we can open it up to if there's anything else you guys want to cover. Because I know we did sort of change this topic a little bit to make it more focused on the Apple iOS updates. And if I don't look directly at you eye to eye, it's because I'm looking at multiple screens here. So I'm not trying to be rude. Starting out, what happened? Why did Apple make this change? What are the impacts on your ad account, on your business, all that sort of fun stuff. The steps and examples on how to fix all of this stuff and make sure that you can continually run ads and profitably scale your business. So there's a bunch of stuff we're going to cover here, and it's all going to make sense at the end. So don't feel worried that you're missing something or feel like there's any stupid questions. All questions are valid, so drop those into the chat and ask away. So starting out, what was the Apple update? If anybody hasn't explained it to you, it is essentially Apple saying, hey, any apps that are in our app store now have to get permission to take our users' data. So now anytime you go into an app, it's going to show you this screen that says, do you want to allow this app to track you? And that essentially means that if they say yes, the third-party data can be passed back to the app, which is Facebook. If they say no, that data will not get passed back. So we're going to dive into what first-party data means and what third-party data means, because it's going to be really, really important moving forward with your brand and understanding the importance of the two and the impact of third-party data shrinking in the amount of use cases that you can use it for. So going over this now, some of this is a little bit more technical, but the update was released early May. So this is maybe why you started seeing a drop in your Facebook ads, especially in terms of ROAS. It's also a reason why you might have seen a drop in your marketing efficiency. So that is your remarketing audiences were probably a little bit smaller, not converting as well. The algorithms in Facebook and Instagram were not doing as good a job because they had less data. And also the biggest one is that it was limited amount of data getting passed back in terms of tracking people when they completed specific actions on your website. So for example, a purchase. Okay, so what is Apple's app tracking transparency framework? This is essentially Apple putting in place a bunch of policies to protect the privacy of all of its users. Now, usually, they roll out these updates, and for this update, brands usually had 2 to 3 months to prep for this. So there's a bunch of things that you need to do in Shopify and you need to do in your ad account, which we're going to go over, which will help minimize the impact that this has on your brand. And it will help you fill in some of the gaps, and I'll explain exactly why you should do them and how to do them. The other thing that you should know is IDFA means the ID for advertisers. So this is something that iPhone or Apple created, and it is a randomized key that gives everybody identification. Before the update, about 70% of iPhone users were allowing apps like Facebook to use this in their marketing and their tracking and all that sort of fun stuff. They're expecting when iOS 15 rolls out, this to drop to roughly 10%. So you are going to be losing a lot of data from a lot of customers. And I'm sure all of you know, iPhone and Apple product users usually have a much higher conversion rate. They usually have a higher disposable income, and they are usually one of the top people that you want to target. So, this is going to be tough for e-commerce brands, but don't worry, there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to go over, and it's going to show you how to best prepare for this. Now, the adoption rate of 14.5 was relatively slow. It usually takes 2 to 3 months for Apple users to fully update to the latest version. Now, of the people who have updated so far, only 5% of people have opted into tracking. So it's totally normal to see a big drop in your advertising ROAS and all of those statistics that are getting shown in your Facebook ad account. So don't panic, because the conversions are still happening. They're just not getting tracked as well. So you'll notice one of the most important things to do is look at your total revenue and look at your total ad spend, and then work out your marketing efficiency. So this is essentially how many dollars am I spending on marketing, how much revenue am I making in total. And so you'll be able to, the best case is to track that month over month, and you'll be able to see that the prior month, your total ROI for your brand should be pretty consistent, and maybe your ad ROAS, return on ad spend, is maybe just dropping when May came through. So don't panic too much. Just because your Facebook ROAS is dropping doesn't necessarily mean that all your revenue is dropping. Okay, this is a quick little chart that will show you the adoption rate. I think I updated this today. So you can see here in May when the update rolled out. And you can see as of now, about 65% of people have opted in to 14.5 or above. And that is when that privacy notification got added to iPhones.
And Jack, just a quick thing here. A lot of people are saying that, they don't use Apple, right? But this is something that has affected the entire Facebook platform. So a lot of Facebook users use Apple products. And so rather than segmenting out those different users, Facebook just decided that this was going to be a big sweeping change that they're going to make. So, maybe you're not targeting Apple specifically, but this still will affect your business.
Yep, 100%. And, just don't think of Apple just as iPhone. Apple is Safari, which is all desktops. It is all iPhones, and it's any social app essentially that comes through the App Store. So Apple has its control over a lot of different aspects of a business. Now, when you go into your Google Analytics, you can also take a look to see, based off your browser, the difference between Chrome versus Safari. And then you can also go and look at device. So it can show you the breakdown of Android versus Apple. So take a look at those stats and see how much percentage of your traffic and conversions or revenue are coming from Apple products. Because even as Kate said, even if you're not targeting those people, it will have an effect if there's any touch point within a mobile phone app. Okay, so this is a historic view of what the change and transition looked from for 13 to 14. You can see that it took a few months. So, I think the real update, the real drop will come when iOS 15 rolls out. So we still have a little bit of time for you to get all set up with all of these tactics that we're going to share with you. It's really important to get started on them as soon as possible so that you can be ready for when, as more and more people adopt the iOS 14.5 plus, and also as more people update, a lot more people will be opting out of tracking. Okay, so what does this mean for your brand, your Shopify store, the advertiser? So essentially it means that there's less data available. So this means your remarketing audiences are smaller. So if someone visits your website, that Facebook can't tell or Instagram can't tell if that person actually visited your website anymore, because the apps will not be passing back that information. Or for example, maybe the Safari browser will not be passing back that information. So your remarketing audiences will shrink a little bit, and we're going to go over ways to minimize this. You're going to have less conversion tracking transparency. So this just means that when someone does go and make a purchase, there is less information getting passed back to Facebook. So it's harder for them to say, okay, this ad caused someone to purchase, or this campaign caused someone to purchase. Again, I'm going to show you how to minimize that as well. The optimization is a big one. So as you know, Facebook and Instagram run off a lot of algorithms and optimization that's done on the back end. So with less information, that algorithm has had a little bit of a hard time over the last month or so in terms of using that data to better target customers with your ads. So this is another reason why a lot of the Facebook advertising budgets or campaigns have been a little less effective over the last few weeks. The other thing is they're removing a lot of data. Now, let me know if this is too technical, if this is not technical enough. I want to get a read on where everybody's at in terms of how deep they want me to go into all of this data stuff, because it is it's very important to learn, and I can give you a very high level so you can get the basic gist of it all. Because even, you'll talk to huge store owners or, big analytical people, and they'll still be confused about what first-party data means versus third-party data. So to break this down simply, first-party data is information that you collect on your website and you keep on your website. So this is like an email list. Second-party data is when you're essentially buying an email list or getting an email list from someone who's already collected those emails. So this is like getting maybe you do kind of like a webinar, a joint webinar or something, and you get the list of attendees and you upload that into Facebook. That would be second-party data. Third-party data is when you're using a pixel, because that pixel can be placed in many places and the data collected from that pixel goes back to a central location. So you can see this in the diagrams. These are multiple web properties. So this could be a website, it could be an app, it could be whatever. You're essentially collecting that third-party data and sending it back. A lot of the browsers, a lot of the tech companies are trying to restrict the amount of third-party data that people can collect. It's too easy. So yeah, my advice to everybody on here is to start really focusing on collecting emails, collecting phone numbers, and building up the amount of first-party data you have. Now, there's a lot more advanced kind of stuff that we can go into around this, but I'll keep it kind of high level. Cade, is there anything in the chat on whether this is too advanced or not advanced enough?
The only comment I've seen so far is that they're understanding everything, and the more the better.
Perfect. Okay. And this is a quick outline as well to help you understand the difference between first-party cookies and third-party cookies. So first-party cookies, they're essentially helping you be auto-logged in. They're helping you navigate and use websites better, or helping you use apps better, because they're remembering who you are so they can actually deliver a better experience for you when you're using your app. Third-party cookies are usually not trying to deliver a better experience. They're trying to take your data. So this is one of the main reasons why that browsers and people like Apple are trying to restrict the amount of third-party data that gets transferred, usually back to advertisers. And remember, all of these slides will be in the email recap, so you can come back and read through these. Pixels are one aspect, but cookies are also stored in browsers. So just so that you're aware, cookies have already been banned, or third-party cookies have already been stopped or prevented on Safari and Firefox. And then Google is also planning to remove third-party cookies later this year. So understanding the difference between first-party and third-party is very, very important. Now, I know that was all super scary. Everybody's like, damn, this is ridiculous. How can they do this to us? Don't worry, we were thinking this as well. So we came up with a bunch of ways to help fix this problem. So first thing you're going to want to do is verify your domain in Facebook. Now, you might have seen this a little bit, but this is a really important thing to do, because once you verify your domain, you can do a bunch of other things. Now, this is one going to help secure your brand, because Facebook wants you to verify your domain and prove that you are the owner of this website. And that's one aspect to it. But two, verifying your domain will allow you to tell Facebook, hey, these are my most important events, because Apple is only letting you track a maximum of 8 events. They've talked about releasing more, but at the moment, it's just 8 events. So it's really, really important to go into your business manager, come down to your brand safety, go to domains, and then it's going to ask you to verify your domain. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually just paste a code into your website header, or you can use CNAME or a bunch of different strategies. I'll see if I can actually just go in and give you a quick look at how to do this. We're going off script here, so this could go extremely wrong. But yeah, so when you come into here, you're going to want to go to your business manager. Oh no, two-factor authentication. Sorry guys, let me just get this for you. This is how bad security's gotten. 6, I'm not even typing it. Okay. None of you try and hack me right now. Okay, so here we go. Fantastic, I can read, and I was able to put in my code. All right, so diving into your business manager, that is just business.facebook.com. What you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna go in there, and you're gonna wanna go to down to brand safety. So under brand safety, you're gonna have the ability to click on domains, and then you're gonna wanna choose your own domain. So this is really important because you wanna verify your own domain here. And so if your domain isn't here, you can simply add it, and you can add, say, google.com. Okay, so you've got to actually put in your own domain, but you just come in here, you add your own domain, and it will give you the instructions to go and place that tag. Now, once you have done that, and that is all verified, it takes a few seconds, you go to your events manager. And now your events manager is really important because this is where you choose those events that we talked about. So this is the purchase, the add to cart, the initiate checkout. If we go back here, these are the ones that we suggest putting in there. So purchase, and if you want to collect the value as well, it takes up 4 spots. Add payment info, initiate checkout, cart, and view content. We suggest adding those ones. Now, when we come back here, you go to aggregate event management, and you can configure your events here. And so this is going to be where you can come in here, and we'll use ours. Wow, we haven't even verified our domain on our website. Guys, lucky we don't run any ads. Okay, and here you can go and verify your domain if you haven't already, but let's go to another one that I know has verified domains. And so once you have verified your domains, you can manage your events here, and you can see them all placed in here. So that is step number 1 for verifying your domain. That shouldn't take long, it'll take you 5 minutes, and it's gonna be really good because you're gonna be able to tell Facebook how you want them to optimize your ads, and it's going to also allow you to do a bunch of other stuff later down the line. So the next step, so this is gonna involve Shopify a little bit. Now, Shopify did a great job at making this a lot easier for merchants, but the main thing here to understand is a conversion API is something that Facebook made to try and piece together a bunch of different information. So if you don't know what an API is, it's essentially 2 softwares talking to each other through the interwebs. And they're saying, hey, do this. The other one's saying, do that. And one's saying, I can do this and you can't do this, that sort of thing. So it's how software and different platforms talk to each other. Now, Facebook rolled out a conversion API. Now, what this allows you to do, it allows you to collect all the information on your website, and send that back to Facebook, and then Facebook can try and match up the names and emails, unique identifiers, and all the different things that they can collect from your Shopify store. They try and match that back to the users and the ads that they saw or clicked. And that way you can fill in some of the missing conversions that you might be missing if you were to not have this conversion API set up. So very easy. When you're in your Shopify store, go and navigate to your sales channels, add your Facebook. Now, I highly suggest adding your Facebook channel anyway, because it allows you to easily integrate your Shopify store with Facebook. You can add your product feeds and do all that sort of stuff. It makes it very easy to set up stores and those sorts of things, and your pixel placements. A ton of benefits for adding Facebook as your sales channel. So make sure you do that for Facebook. I also suggest doing it for Google and Snapchat. This is the easiest way to integrate with those platforms. And so once you set that up, you can actually go back to your Facebook Events Manager, and you can then go and set up your conversion API. Now, this is just a bunch of things that you're going to do. We have an in-depth guide, because it does take a little bit of time, that Jan or Kate can drop in the chat. But there's an in-depth guide of what you need to do exactly in order to connect your store and then set up your conversion API. I think I've actually got it. Oh, whoops. I think I've actually got it here. But it's worth the 5-minute read to go through this. And there's a bunch of steps here that you can follow. I'm not going to do this on the call because it might waste a bunch of your time, but go through and read that, and that will tell you exactly how to do it. Now, let's get on to another really important thing. Third-party data is kind of going away, so you do need to adjust and adapt. It's a terrible thought to just say, hey, I'm going to just sit here and wait for this to fix itself. You definitely want to be proactive in the way that you do your marketing to try and counteract some of the issues that this update has caused. So once you set up your domain, you set up your conversion API, then you can start looking at a few other things. So what I suggest first is really understanding your numbers. So this is important because you want to understand, how much am I spending on ads? How much traffic am I getting? What is that traffic good? Is it converting? Meaning, what's my website conversion rate, or what's my time on site? What's my bounce rate? And then looking at what's my total revenue. And that way you're able to figure out with calculators, which we're going to provide with you, you can figure out kind of what your unit economics are going to be, what your ROI is going to be, and you just need to do it a little bit more manually as opposed to it just showing up in your ad account. So I highly suggest that you go through and use some of these calculators. I'll give you an example of it in 1 second, but go and set up these calculators so that you can understand your metrics and understand your numbers and be like, okay, no, I need to get my click down to this, or I need to get my cost of traffic down to this, my website conversion rate up to this to be profitable. And we'll tell you all of that information in this calculator. Before I jump over there, I'm going to go over a few more things. When you are optimizing your ads, make sure that you are looking at on-platform metrics. So this is, are people clicking on my ads? What's my cost per click? What's my click-through rate? What's my share ratio? So are people sharing the content? What's my engagement rates? Are people engaging with the content? You really want to look at all of this information because it can help you identify good ads versus bad ads, because you're not going to have 100% of the data available in terms of a conversion purchase on your website to say, hey, this is a good ad. So you used to be able to just optimize and look at the ROAS and be like, this ad's good, good, bad, 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 bad. Now there's going to be more of a gray area on the bad ads because maybe not all the conversions are getting passed back. So you want to start looking at the benchmarks of those click-through rates, engagement rates, and you can also look at a bunch of ways that you can set up percentages and conversion rates within Facebook now. You can set up specific equations, which I'm going to show you in a minute too. The other thing is, which I talk to a lot of store owners and they don't understand, is understanding first touch and last touch attribution. Now, pretty much everything defaults to last touch, meaning the last platform or the last place that that person came from before they purchased gets attributed the conversion. Now, you want to also take into account what the first touch point was. How did that person discover your brand? That is the best way to think of first touch and last touch attribution models. And it's really important to start looking at this because now that the attribution window on Facebook has gone from 28-day click and 1-day view down to 7-day click and 1-day view, you're going to be losing a lot of that information of when that person first connects or first discovers your brand. Okay, now let's keep going. Any questions in there at all before I keep going, Cade?
No, it looks like we got them all handled.
Nice, sounds good. Fantastic. So let's go and jump into the calculator. Oh no, that's the ROAS article.
Hey Jack, actually there's a question.
That.
There's a question that just came up about placing the verification meta tag in Shopify. I can hop in. If you just put it in the header of your theme.liquid file, between the opening and closing head tags, like where you would put a pixel or like Google Analytics code, there should be some other meta tags there as well, and just pop it in there and you should be able to verify your domain that way.
All right, let me just quickly get the calculators, and I'm going to show you a bunch of those. Hold on a sec. This might take too long. All right, I'm not going to do that. My computer's not fast enough. But I will update this link so you guys can all get the calculators, and it's super easy and self-explanatory. You just fill in the white sections, and then you essentially will get a understanding of what all of your ROAS rates should be, what all your conversion rates should be to be profitable. It's very straightforward. I've shared them in previous ones. So there's some updated ones that we released after iOS 14.5. So those will be very useful, and I'll update that so everybody has the latest one. Now, just to give you a quick idea of the things that we look at when we are optimizing our ads, these are all the columns that we set up. Now, it's really important because a lot of these are on platform, a lot of them are off platform. So for example, post saves and post shares are on platform indicators that someone's really interested in your product or brand. Now, this is going to get more and more important in identifying people who are interested in your content, interested in your brand, before they even make it to your website. So start adding those things into your columns and looking at the averages and seeing if your ads are performing above or below average. Because if they're performing above average, you might want to allocate more ad spend to that. If they're performing below average, you might want to pause those or get rid of those ads. So start looking at your post saves, your post shares, your share ratios, your post engagements, all that sort of fun stuff. And then these custom metrics, which I was talking about, you can then go and set those up super easily and create custom metrics. The ones that I like to do is the conversion rate from someone seeing the ad to purchasing, someone seeing the ad and getting to the landing page, someone seeing the landing page and getting to cart, and then someone going from cart to purchase. Make sure you are using the unique version. So there's all link clicks and there's the unique link clicks. All link clicks means that every single click on that, you're going to count one of those. So one person could have like 20 clicks. Whereas if you look at the unique link click, that means one person can click and you're just counting that person once. Now, remember, when you're making these custom metrics, you want to use unique, because otherwise, if you use total, it's going to skew your results. Because no matter how many times someone clicks, that person's only going to buy from you. That's only going to be one purchase or one order. So make sure you're using your unique link clicks. Now, I did mention how important first-party data was. Now, collecting that, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. So first off, you want to definitely focus on building your email list, your SMS list, and some brands will also collect browser notifications. That's that super annoying little thing that pops up and says, do you want to get notifications from this website? Some brands it works really well with, other brands not so much. But yeah, really focus on building your own first-party data. Now, I really suggest having an even split of 30% of revenue coming from organic/direct, 30% coming from ads, and 30% coming from your email or SMS. And then 10% is, floating. That's a good ratio for those types of channels that you can get acquisition and revenue from. In all of the most successful brands we work with, that's kind of like the split that they have. If anything, it's a higher split towards email, because those people have a lot of repeat purchases. It's much cheaper to actually reach out to those people again. And it's a really cost-effective way to generate sales. So your CPA, or return on spend, ROI, return on investment, is going to be a lot better than if you were to run ads. Because once you get that person's first-party data, it's a lot easier to get in touch with them again, versus third-party data is much harder to get re-engaged with because you don't have any of their information. The other things that I'm really suggesting brands do is start surveying all your customers and start using coupon codes for, let's say, Facebook or Google or YouTube. Really try and get multiple data points on where people are coming from, how they're finding you, what they like about your brand, what they don't like about your brand, how long did they contemplate the purchase. All of these ways you can actually collect more information and really understand your customer better is going to help you do a lot better marketing, and it's going to make you less reliant on just looking at your Facebook ad account ROAS, because that's not going to be as accurate as it used to be. Facebook is using a bunch of AI and all these other things to try and estimate what the conversions would be based off the data that they do have. So that's going to be helpful. But again, it's never going to be 100% accurate. Okay, the other thing is you can start gating your content. So, some brands, if you go to some of the subscription boxes, I think it's like Fabletics and those sorts of people, they will literally gate their entire website so that you have to pretty much enter your name and email to even get into the website. Now, you don't have to be that strict. You could start just gating specific content. You could start offering coupon codes. You could give out a free promotional product in exchange for first-party information, name, phone number, etc. Think about how you can start collecting that data by gating certain things, whether it's contents, products, whatever, your entire site if you really want. But yeah, think about how you can, what value you have that you're currently giving away for free, which you could possibly gate and collect an email or a phone number on. So for example, if you're a cooking store, you might give away recipes, or you might give away cooking tips, that sort of thing. Make that stuff available only if they enter their email or phone number. And then you can obviously put those people into your email marketing drips and grow your first-party database. The other thing is really invest in SEO and organic marketing strategies. A lot of stores it's hard, so a lot of stores will avoid it. But it's definitely something that you want to start earlier than later. So it's really important to start thinking about SEO. Now, there's a few different things you want to think about. On-site SEO is essentially just optimizing your pages. So what is the title? What is the content on your page? Does it make sense? Does it describe the product properly? And it's a good idea to just read up a little bit on SEO and understand the bare minimum basics. Okay, a few other ways that we're counteracting this. First off, we're diversifying traffic. So we're using different ad channels. We're looking at email and SMS a lot more. We're looking at building those email lists. Also looking at using dedicated landing pages. So have a landing page that's just for your Facebook ads, or have a landing page that's just for your Google ads. And then you can tell all of the traffic coming to that page is from your ad account. And then you can then figure out, okay, I spent this much on my ads and this landing page generated this much revenue. So that's another easy way to look at your ROI. As I just mentioned, invest in SEO and collecting leads and collecting your first-party data. The other thing that was really interesting is the use of instant experiences. Now, instant experiences is essentially when someone clicks on your ad, they go to a landing page within Facebook. Now, this is really handy because they stay on the platform, which is collecting first-party data, not third-party, and they stay on the platform and engage and interact more so that you have more information about how far down the funnel that person got. So instant experiences is something that you should try, especially if you just want to use your instant experience as a catalog. And then they just click off to the purchase page in your store at the very end. The other thing is Shopify and Instagram are going to be rolling out a new version of stores. Now, this is good and bad. It's good because the entire checkout experience is going to happen on Facebook and Instagram, so they're not even going to have to worry about the issues with Apple updates and privacy concerns, that sort of thing, because it will all be first-party data. It's all collected on their own website or own app, and so they can use it how they want. And the downside to the new Facebook and Instagram apps is that they are looking to charge, I think it's going to be free at the start, but they will be looking to charge around a 5% commission on all of your revenue. So there's pros and cons with using the on-platform stores. The other really good pro in this is that they are integrating the stores with influencers. So the influencers can now drive traffic and sales to your Facebook and Instagram stores. So it will be a massive change and a big shift in how you want to approach your marketing and where you're going to collect that purchase checkout, whether it's going to be on the Facebook or Instagram platform, whether it's going to be on your Shopify. There's a bunch of ways that I think it's going to work together. So I think Shopify will probably connect up with Facebook and it will still be processed through Shopify. But that you will want to think about how all of that is going to play into your future marketing strategies. Any updates on questions or anything, Cade, that I need to go through before I jump into some of these basic formulas and benchmarks that I suggest stores should have?
No, we're looking good so far. I think one thing to mention is that the Facebook shops currently do offer, like Jack said, checkout on Facebook, but they also have native integration with Shopify checkout. So you go through the store and then it just takes you to Shopify for just the payment.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Great update. And now these are a few of the benchmarks I really like to see stores hit so that they can really be successful with scaling with paid advertising or even just scaling in general. So after seeing so many different stores, so many different brands, you kind of get a sense of like what the golden kind of benchmarks are. So starting out here, you really want to understand what your lifetime value is. So this is the value of a customer over a lifetime. Now that lifetime can be a 90-day lifetime, or it can be a 12-month lifetime, or it can be forever, your entire database. It's up to you how you want to segment that. Ideally, the shorter the lifetime you put, so 90 days, the better it will be on your cash flow. But yeah, essentially you want to know the value of a new customer to you. So for example, your average order value, which is per checkout, might be $100, but your lifetime value might be $500 because they buy 5 times over their lifetime from you. You want to focus on trying to increase these values. You want to try and increase your average order value. So that's things like upsells. It's things like free shipping if you spend over $100. It's things like, if you purchase this, you should also purchase this. Amazon is the king at increasing average order size. You go in there to buy a pencil and you come out with $500 worth of stuff. They're very good at increasing average order value. Lifetime value is an ongoing game that you need to play in terms of once you acquire that person, you need to find other products to sell them. You need to restock the current product if it's a consumable. You need to try and make sure that you've always got something new to sell to these people so that you can continually keep generating revenue from them, because you've paid so much money to acquire that person. You want to squeeze as much revenue out of them as possible. So those are the benchmarks I usually suggest. Lifetime value of $200 to $500, average order value, hopefully of $100 to $200. If you have an average order value under $50, you really need to have a very high website conversion rate. Looking at these next ones, so this is one of those custom metrics that we make in the dashboard. So ad click-through rate is just click-through rate. Sorry, I was thinking about something else then actually, which is further down. So click-through rate is important because that's showing you how efficient your ads are and how engaging they are. Ideally, you want to be between 1% and 2%. This will change depending on the cost of traffic. So CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions. If you have a really, really high CPM, which is meaning that you're not getting much volume or reach for your money. So roughly on Facebook, an average CPM might be like $5 to $10. If you're in a very competitive audience, it might be $10 to $20. If you're in a super broad audience with not much restrictions, you might be under $5. Now, if you have a really low CPM, you're probably going to have a lower click-through rate. If you have a really high CPM, you're probably going to have a higher click-through rate. So you need to look at click-through rate as well as cost per click. Cost per click, you want to usually keep around $1. Now, this is a big one, website conversion rate. Now, this is super important and it does change depending on your average order value. But ideally, you want to have a website conversion rate between 2% and 5%. And then at the very end, you want to figure out what your profitability is. So this is really important because you need to figure out, how much profit are you making? And these calculators are all going to help you do all of this. So you won't have to figure out all the math and all that sort of stuff. Because I know these equations can make no sense to a lot of people. But yeah, these are kind of like the benchmarks that you want to sort of be hitting. So, and profitability or profit margin, we usually like to see it around 30%. So that's, visitors, conversion rate, and LTV minus the cost. So you can do that calculation on, let's say, the last 12 months that you've been running your store and see what your profit margin comes out to be. Okay, here are the calculators. Oh, I just forgot where I put them. Okay, so we have all the benchmarks in here. So you can use these to easily kind of get an idea of, what sort of rates you should be hitting. Unit economics, this is super basic in figuring out how much you're going to spend, how much traffic you're going to get for that money, what your conversion rate is, how many sales that's going to be, any added revenue or expenses. And at the bottom, it's going to spit out all of your different ROI or ROAS goals. So this is really important. And then if you want to get more specific, let's move these around. This one's easier. If you want to get more specific, so for example, if you're in scaling and you're like, okay, I want to increase by 20%, you can then use something like this calculator, which you can then put in what percentage increase you want to hit, and then what that's going to mean in terms of your ROAS, your ROI, CPA, all that sort of stuff. Also, it's important to note, you do have to pay tax in a lot of states, and also the average order value and the number of times someone purchases has a massive impact on your ROI. So if you can just get someone to purchase a second time, you can pretty much double your return on your ads. So just think about how you can get repeat purchases, because it does have a massive impact on your brand and its revenue. All right, let's get back into this. Okay, so let me just double check all of this. All right, now hopefully that's going to be really useful. Again, we're going to drop all the links in there for you. I don't know if the links are already in there. Also, don't forget, copy this template. Don't ruin it for everyone. Copy it out and add it to your own Google Drive. Don't edit it, and put in your own numbers and show everybody how much money your store makes. All right, next step, going up to customer journeys. So this is really important and something that you need to pay a little bit more attention to now that there's more gray areas in the tracking. And it's something that you should definitely be understanding, that not everybody will purchase the first time they see your product, or they will not purchase the first time they ever come to your store. There is usually multiple steps in the checkout process. And as I said before, there are different attribution models. So how you're looking at your data and when you're going to attribute the conversion or not. So the best way to think about this is last click attribution, which is what most of these platforms will default to. So they'll say, okay, this person clicked on a Facebook ad and then purchased, that attribution will go to Facebook. If someone clicked on an email and then went straight to the checkout, that attribution for that conversion will go to your email. However, that doesn't help you understand where you're getting your new customers from. And new customers are really, really important, because you want to continually keep growing the number of customers you have in your store. You don't just want to keep, focusing on a small amount and just like hammering them to death with constant marketing material. You want to continually be growing and looking at where you're finding new customers and expanding there. It is less profitable, but it is something that you need to do if you're planning on scaling your store. If you get stuck only looking at last click and you're not focusing on where the new customers are coming from, and you're just focusing on where people are getting converted, which is usually abandoned cart emails or abandoned cart ads, you're not going to be growing your customer base. So that's why the first click attribution is usually much more growth orientated. So this is like, okay, someone's clicked or saw me on Pinterest, and then they went and scoured the internet for 3 weeks trying to find, a competitor that's cheaper. And then they came back and they may be purchasing my Instagram ad. You really want to give some attribution to that Pinterest impression or click, because that is where they first discovered you. Without that interaction, they would have never purchased from you because they wouldn't know who you were. So that's why I usually default to the positional based. Now you can do this in Google Analytics, and I'll show you how to do it quickly. And you can take a look at what your traffic sources look like for the different attribution models. So I wonder what this link goes to. Okay, so this is a post that goes over more attribution stuff. So definitely read that. But we actually want to go to a analytics. I'm definitely not going to be logged into the right one here. Google wrong. Nice. Smooth. Okay, so hopefully I've got some accounts in here that we can take a look at. But I'm pretty sure it's going to open up my personal email, which would be great for you guys. You can see what goes on in the day-to-day of my life. I think this has taken up all the juices on my computer. It's just not loading. I might even have to make a quick little video after this showing you where exactly to go. Because in Google Analytics, if you don't have this set up, definitely set this up and enable e-commerce tracking. It's a life changer, and it's going to be super important for you moving forward in terms of looking at your data, not just in Facebook, but looking at it in terms of what's happening on my actual website, not just what's happening on the not just what's happening on Facebook. Okay, let's try this one. Let's see. I'll just show you where to go. So there's a few options here. You can go down to your conversions, and you want to go to your multi-channel funnels, and you can do model comparison. Now, I don't think this is going to have too much data in it. It doesn't even have any data in it, so this is not helpful. Let's do this one. Now, if you have e-commerce tracking set up, you will be able to see the actual transactions here, which will be your revenue. Or if you set up goals, you can do that as well. So let's take a look at this, and let's say from January, let's get a decent amount of data in here. And so now what you can take a look at is all of these different attribution models here. So remember I said that you have last click, first click, and I like to use positional. A good idea is to come in, take a look at your store, and see where exactly you're getting all of your first click and last click attributions from. So you can see here, Google is organic is actually producing most of our first click interactions. Then, this website, and then this is pretty much on par. Topgrowth.org is stealing all the conversions. You can see all of the conversions are coming from last click. This is pretty even. Growth Hackers coming from the blog. You can see Webinar Jam actually was producing a lot of first impressions, so that's how people discovered us. And then they converted less on the last click. So go in there and take a look at your, maybe I might have more data in this one. Let's take a look. I kind of want to give you an e-commerce example because it will make way more sense. All right, let's hope this is the right password. Yeah. Okay, hold on. And then also, if there is Q&A, it's no good. Sorry guys, I need to be logged into my different email, but you get the idea. If you need help going through your first click, last click, you can shoot me an email, or I can make a video and I can drop it in the Facebook group or something, and I can show you exactly how to do it for an e-commerce store, and that might be helpful. But essentially, you can look at your first click and last click. This is what first click and last click looks like in terms of ROI, return on ad spend. So these are all the same campaigns, same period and everything. Now this is what the last click attribution looks like. You can see that it's barely break even. So 100% is a 1 ROAS, which is break even. And then when we look at positional 40, you can see that this is actually at a 1.4 or 1.3. And so you can see that it's actually bringing in a lot of new customers. You can see here the increase in conversions and the increase in value is much higher than it would be if you were just looking at the last touch. So definitely consider multiple attribution models. Oh, here we go. Should just come to this. Who made this deck? It's great. So if you are looking in your Google Analytics, take a look at this. It's going to be super interesting. The other thing is Google does have an attribution tool which specifically works with attribution only. So it also helps. But you can see here the last interaction versus positional based. And you can see the places that you're getting a lot of your first touch. So you can see these ad platforms are actually overperforming in terms of first click interactions, or they're bringing in more new customers than, say, for example, email and some of those other platforms. So yeah, definitely take a look at your different attribution models, where you're finding your new customers and where you're converting your customers. Use an attribution tool by Google. The other thing that's happening is, this is actually a good segue. Google is releasing a new Google Analytics 4. So this is their solution to third-party tracking going away, or third-party cookies going away. They are going to start using what's called Flock. Nobody knows what it is, don't worry. And essentially it is just that using computers to create clusters of people and then use AI to predict number of conversions from those groups, blah, blah, blah. So essentially there's going to be a lot of data science going on, a lot of AI going on, a lot of prediction going on based off your data. So that way they take out the issue of first party and third party, because they're not identifying anybody. They're putting people into segments, and then they're basing it off that and using estimates. So that's going to be rolling out with Google Analytics 4. I'm hoping Shopify is going to integrate with them soon. Hint, hint, because that will make life a lot easier. And you'll want to update to Google Analytics 4 maybe in a few months when they sort of get it all sorted. It's still very early beta and not working too well, but that will be the default way that you will track your conversions with Google Ads. So as you know, Google Ads relies heavily on third-party tracking as well. So at the moment, your Google Ads are not tracking conversions from, more than likely not tracking conversions from Safari and Firefox. And they also said that they're removing their third-party tracking as well later this year. So what they're going to do is they're going to implement this Flock technology, and they're going to integrate that with your Google Ad account so that you can track all your conversions much easier. So that is what's going to happen there. Now, predictions and estimations on conversion volume, that's already happening in Facebook. Google is probably going to do a similar thing. I can imagine all the other platforms like Snapchat and those sorts of guys will do that as well. Really focus on search and browser. So looking at platforms like Criteo, Taboola, Google Search, Bing Search, or Microsoft Search. Looking at those search platforms, you can still get some good data from there, because you are not losing all of your app data, because it's based off a browser. And a lot of people are using Chrome versus Safari, so you still do have a lot of data available there. Platforms will be removing third-party data, so they will probably start trying to use more public information for identifiers. So that is things like IP addresses, behavior that people are taking, or any public information that people allow. Like, for example, LinkedIn, for example, is a massive user of public information. They get everybody to publish their positions, their roles, and all this sort of stuff, which they then just use in their ads. And they get super targeted because all of that data is available to the public, and they can use that in their ad targeting and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of thing will become more and more common in these different ad platforms. Think about the different funnels that you're going to have. You're going to have your store, you're going to have your social media checkouts, add in multiple payment gateways. So I know like Shop from Shopify, that gateway is rolling out into Google and Facebook as well. So think about the different ways that you're collecting payments and how easy it is for merchants. It's a race to the one-click checkout pretty much. Whichever merchant can get the most users for one-click checkout as fast as possible will be the dominant checkout provider. So for example, Amazon already has a leg up because everybody uses their app. The discovery, the research, and the purchase all happens on Amazon. So they have their own little ecosystem where all their tracking is there. They don't need to worry about passing information back from different sites or getting access to information. So, think about the different checkout options that you have. Focus on leads, collecting leads and emails, as I've mentioned like a million times. So hopefully that sinks in and you start building your email list. And I would say, another prediction in the future is that brands might move away from apps and really try and focus on browser-based platforms. So you already see Chrome is adding a little option where people can download the website as an app. So I can imagine that's going to get more and more important over the years. So thinking about how that will affect your store, if you're going to have an app for your store, that sort of stuff. And really, if you're going to just take anything away from this session, prep for the update, verify your domain, set up your conversion API, choose your events. That will have most of your Facebook stuff covered. Focus on first-party data, collecting emails, owning your data, survey your email lists, collect more information on your users, kind of really understand what they do, why they do it, when they do it. Start looking at all of your data. So instead of just focusing on your ROAS and your ad account, look at your Google Analytics, look at all your unit economics, use those calculators, figure out what sort of click-through rates you need to be hitting, what sort of website conversion rates you need to be hitting, and then you'll just be funneling traffic into those and making sure that they, and if you're hitting those benchmarks, as long as you're getting cheap enough traffic in there, you'll be making the money on the backside. So yeah, really focus on understanding your unit economics. The other thing is creative is going to be super, super important. People are going to share good creative, people are going to engage with good creative, and the social platforms are still going to reward posts or ads that have a lot of engagement. So no matter what you do, make sure that you have awesome creative and you're getting a lot of post saves and a lot of post shares and post engagement. Because even if you lose your tracking, you will get so much cheaper traffic if those ad platforms or social platforms are promoting your content because it's got high engagement. So really rely on your creative there to do a lot of the heavy lifting with your Facebook and Instagram ads. Now, another big thing is take a look at all of the ads that are coming out on TikTok. It is great research. So go and find a bunch of the people in your niche and take a look to see what content they create on TikTok. TikTok is very creative and they do have some great ideas for making great ads, even though they're not ads yet. They're kind of just organic. But yeah, so take a look at TikTok and try and get involved in your niche and look at the content they're creating. It's very interesting. This is a quick to-do list. You're getting these slides, so just write these down or print this out and just tick these off one by one, and you'll be all set to much better utilize your Facebook traffic, much better utilize and position your brand to keep growing and not let this update affect you too much. All right. Now, I know some of that was boring, some of that was fun, some of that was like, wow, I didn't know that. Let's go through some Q&A and let me know if there's any questions here, any uncertainties, anything you want to ask. We've got Cade, we've got Jen, we've got Jack, which I can't answer much, but Cade and Jen will answer most. Let me jump into the chat. Okay, you can let me know if there's any that I need to respond to, or if you've done such a good job.
Been a pretty quiet crowd, but I'll let you know if anything starts to pop up.
Yeah, super boring topic. Sorry, guys, but it is something you can't avoid. Brands and stores had, I think, 3 months to prepare for this, and I think nobody did any preparation, and everybody quickly tried to scatter and get everything done in the last few weeks. So yeah, I know it's boring, but it's something you definitely have to focus on if you want to keep using digital marketing to grow your store. If you do avoid it, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, and I think Facebook's actually going to require domain verification for any ads moving forward. I don't remember what the cutoff date for that is, but I remember talking to our rep about that.
Nice. So you have to do it. You don't even have a choice. Okay, guys. Well, if there's not too many questions, and if I did such an amazing job at answering everything with this unbelievable deck, we might wrap it up. But a few final notes. Take all the assets we're giving you. We usually don't share them with that many people, usually for clients only. So definitely take those and use them. Please don't share them too much. And make sure that you get all of those assets, learn a little bit about, all of the stuff that we went over today. I know it's kind of boring, or at least pass it on to the person managing your ads, or pass it on to the person looking at your analytics. They might understand a lot more of this content and the importance of it. I think looking at the keyword cloud, it looks like ads was the biggest keyword, privacy problems, customers, calculator, landing page, IG shops. I'm surprised Apple wasn't a more used keyword actually in the chats. Also, just to share some polls with everybody. Let's take a look. Multiple choice. Did you see a drop in your Facebook? So this is an important one because everybody thinks they're alone. 71% of people in here said that they saw a drop in their Facebook ROAS. Let's go to the next one. Your slide is active. Okay, let's look at this one. Did you cry when iOS 14.5 rolled out? 41% of you said yes. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, this open-ended one has too many answers. We can't do that one. Okay, not a lot of these polls have been published. Jen wasn't doing her job. Anyway, guys, hopefully some of that was fun. Hopefully was this training helpful? We've got a few 5s, a few 4s. Oh, we've got some 4s going down now. A 3, come on. Someone's got to put a 1 in there, surely. Someone who just hates analytics. They're just like, get out of here. I don't even know why I'm watching this. Anyway, guys, really appreciate your time. Hopefully this was helpful. The deck's there for you to go and use at a later date. If you're not thinking about tackling this today, definitely tackle it at some point. Shoot us some questions. So you have my email. Shoot me any questions you want. If you want me to explain something in more detail, we have a bunch of content on our YouTube channel about all this sort of stuff. There's a bunch of previous trainings that we've done with Shopify in the Growth Lab section. So that goes from beginner ad strategies to advanced ad strategies and everything in between. We've done creative courses and all sorts of that stuff. So if this wasn't your cup of tea, go and check out some of those other ones, which will be a little bit more relevant to maybe what you're interested in learning about. But yeah, really appreciate your time. And I know we're coming up on almost 2 hours. So you guys have much better things to do. So really appreciate your time, and shoot me an email if you have any questions. Slides will go out. If you don't get them, also feel free to email me and I can drop those to you as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.